Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Sherry here, and today I am so excited to make this video, which is everything that you should know about NUS Overseas Colleges or NOC. And this is actually one of the most exciting and prestigious programs in my opinion, and NOC is also one of the flagship programs of NUS, and it was one of the key programs that really enticed me to join NUS in the first place. So I'm very excited to make this video, and hopefully this video will not only allow you to understand the program better and also how to make the best out of it, but also increase your chances of getting into the program. Note that I'm going to be sharing with you all the program details, in a way that's the most accurate as possible, from the website and everything. And then after sharing with you all the legitimate information, I'll also be adding in some of my own thoughts and also my own interpretation of some parts, I would say. So definitely make sure you watch, the entire video, and also make sure you stay to the end, because that's where I'll be packing the video with all my additional tips, just a few stories and examples for you to get by more easily. So for some quick context, my name is Sherry if you don't know me, and I'm a final semester student at the National University of Singapore, and I'm also from the business school. I'm currently pursuing a Bachelor's of Business Administration. For some quick background, I actually went through 7 orientation camps when I was a freshman. I also stayed on campus in Shears Hall for the first 2 years, and then I went on student exchange to the University of Wisconsin-Madison in America. It was one of the best times of my life. And then after that, I came back for a semester, and then I went for NUS Overseas Colleges program for 1 year. And then after that, I actually took an additional LOA, or leave of absence, which is also known as a gap semester, for me to intern at yet another startup. And right now, I'm back in school after 1.5 years of not being in school. Currently, again, I'm staying on campus under N-House in Kent Hall. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask me anything, and I'm just so excited for me to share with you my experience in the NOC program. So a quick background also about my NOC program. I was actually selected to go to NOC's Shanghai for a year, and I actually got a placement at a company, and it was actually really exciting. And however, because of COVID-19, that was not possible anymore. So even though we booked our flights, we booked our accommodation and all those crazy things like that, unfortunately the program got cut short. And then after that, they were like, okay, you guys can kind of choose where you want to go. So I chose to go to Silicon Valley. So NOC Silicon Valley has a 1-year program as well. So I actually applied for that, and I managed to get a job and everything like that. And again, right before we were about to book, a few things here and there, the Silicon Valley program also got cancelled. And then quickly enough, all programs around the world got cancelled because COVID-19 started spreading across the entire planet. So, well, that kind of sucked. But other than that, after that, everyone basically came back to Singapore, and now everyone's on the Singapore program. So that was just sharing with you some of the context. So yeah, I hope that was an interesting history tidbit for you. And before we get started into the video, I also want to say thank you so much for showing me all the love and support for my everything that you should know before joining NUS video. It really blew up a lot, and I did not expect that. So I'm hoping to make this video as helpful as that one.
I got so much back, I think I'm never running out, yeah, bust me down.
I've broken down the video into multiple different parts, so feel free to skip to wherever you need to. But the first part, I'll be sharing with you the exact program details of NOC and what it really entails. The second thing I'll be sharing with you would be why you should join NOC, or what are some of the key benefits of joining the NOC program and why I like it so much. I'll also be sharing with you about what's Friends of NOC. So Friends of NOC is actually something that you do before joining NOC or applying for NOC. And then after that, I'll be going through the application process to get through NOC, and specifically, of course, it's the interview, which I've gotten so many different questions about. And then after that, I'll be sharing with you, some of the details on what I went through as part of the NOC program, and it was actually very exciting. And then after that, I'm actually going through with you, NOC alumni. There's so many incredible founders that are NOC alumni, so I'll be talking a little bit about that. And then after that, I'll be talking about some of the events that you can go to as part of the NOC program or NOC alumni. And then after that, I'll be talking about N-House. So this video is going to be filled with so much information, so feel free to take notes or anything. And since NOC was originally, a program that focused a lot more on, traveling overseas, but that is not really possible now because of COVID-19, I'm going to be focusing a lot more on, the Singapore program, and also because I myself went through the Singapore program. With that being said, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'm sorry for the very long intro, and I think we can go straight into the video content. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Not me realizing how much I need to cover.
Okay, so the first part of the video, I'm sharing with you what is NOC. So I'm going to be reading off first from the website, and here goes nothing. Okay, the NOC program is all about providing you with the entrepreneurial experience that you need to start up on your own journey. Gain access to 12 global entrepreneurial hotspots. Take on the role of an entrepreneur at innovative startups while attending courses at our renowned partner universities. Be empowered with the know-how and skill set you need to make a change in the world today. So another description is the NOC programs also provide students with the opportunity to work with innovative startups or high-growth companies and study at renowned partner universities at one of the 9 entrepreneurial hotspots around the globe. Students can choose to join the full-year program or short program. Under the full-year program, students will join a company either in Silicon Valley, California, New York, Beijing, Shanghai, or Stockholm for a year. Under the short program, students will participate in a company for either 6 or 7 months at either Israel, Beijing, Munich, Lausanne, or Singapore. During the internship, students will also get to attend courses at the partner universities, namely Stanford University, NYU Polytechnic School of Engineering, Fudan University, Tsinghua University, Tel Aviv University, and Royal Institute of Technology KTH, Technology University of Munich, and École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne. Okay, so course credits will count towards the students' NUS degree academic requirements. At the end of the program, students will return to NUS to complete their degree. The program aims to cultivate and nurture students into enterprising, resourceful, and independent self-starters, and eventually blossom into successful entrepreneurs. Through this unique experience, students get the opportunity to immerse in the innovative and fast-paced startup culture, acquire entrepreneurial skills, and establish business and personal networks. So while that was a lot of words, I'm going to be summarizing with you what I think it means. So basically, the NOC program is a program that allows students to actually work full-time overseas or locally at a startup company where you can actually really learn the ropes of how to become a business entrepreneur. You can also get to network with other incredible entrepreneurs and also people in the startup space, and also you get to live independently and also learn some life skills that will grow you up into a fully capable, independent human being. So besides the internship component, which is a full-time role, so literally Monday to Friday, probably around like 8 AM to 6 PM every single day, you'll also be taking up courses part-time. So you'll be a part-time student while being a full-time intern, and under these courses you actually learn some entrepreneurship modules where you learn how to pitch a company. You also learn how to you also learn about the different business models of a company. You learn how to raise money if you ever start your own company. You also do some ideation and design frameworks and all that kind of fun stuff in groups sometimes. So what this also means is that when you're actually completing all your modules, you'll be taking up your UEs or your unrestricted electives as part of your your degree requirements. And all this should nicely align with your academic journey in the sense that you wouldn't need to take an additional gap semester or gap year to do the NOC program. And also another thing is that this program is really aimed at students who are interested in the startup space and perhaps you want to start their own business one day. So that is really the entirety of the NOC program. I hope it was clear. There's also the 6-month program or the 1-year program that you can choose from. Of course, most students will probably go for the 6 months or the 1-year program in Singapore today, so definitely that's something for you to learn about. So now the second part as to why you should join NOC. So there's so many incredible reasons to join NOC. If you cannot already tell, I am absolutely in love with the program, and I definitely recommend anyone, if you're interested in startups especially, to join this program. And the reason why I say this is, number one, you get internship experience. So internship experience is something that any student should definitely go into, and I talk a lot about why you should join an internship on my channel as well. And essentially, internships are real life working experience that can not only add to your resume but also improve your confidence academically and also career-wise, and also it will allow you to really learn the ropes of the job. So for instance, I can share with you that I learned so many things about marketing. I read a lot about marketing and I love watching videos and movies about marketing, but I actually learn the most when I'm on the job and actually practicing the skills myself, because then I can see the real impact of marketing real time in the business context, and also you can see how your skills actually relates to a startup's business strategic and financial aspects of a business. So I wouldn't say that much, but definitely internships are incredible for you if you are a student right now. Okay, the second reason why you should definitely join NOC, I believe, is because you don't just get to intern, but you get to intern at a startup. So for someone like myself, I've always been very interested in startups, purely because my family by nature, we're all very, very entrepreneurial. My dad has his own business, my sister has her own business, and my mom helps my dad with his business. So startups was something that always excited me since I was young. I want to work in a company that's, you know, trying to change things or at least make a disruption in the world, and that's just my own personal passion and belief. And another thing is that working at a startup is an incredible place for you to learn. So I feel that when you join a startup at a young age, when you're interning, it's really the best place for you to do as much as possible, to contribute as much as possible, and to really just get your hands super dirty before you finish your education. And you can learn so much from interning at a startup because your role usually isn't as defined or as limited, and you can really try to do a lot of different things. And usually for startups, at least the place that I worked at, I got a lot of responsibility, so it's really fun to challenge myself, not just mentally but also in terms of the work that I got to do, and you know, to feel like I was really making an impact was something incredible. If you want to learn more about my specific internship, definitely do comment down below and I can share with you the details of my internship at this Y Combinator company. Otherwise, it will take too long for me to go through everything in this video, but definitely interning at a startup is really invaluable. The third reason why you should definitely join NOC, I believe, is really because of, you know, the lessons that you get to learn during class. So something that you need to know is that when you're interning at all these startups, you also need to take part-time courses in entrepreneurship. So something that I can share with you is that all these modules will definitely teach you about the business model of how a startup works, how to raise funds for your money, how to raise funds for a company if you ever wanted to raise funds, how people do their own design and ideation sprints. You also get to learn how to, you know, contribute to a real startup project. You'll also be working with other people and learning about all their other startup ideas. And you can also learn how to evaluate a company or, you know, all the financial sides of a startup. So all these are actually really, you know, important details, I would say, if you ever want to start your own company. And I feel like if you ever want to do your own startup one day, it's so important for you to not just understand, you know, your own specific specialization. You definitely want to try your best to get educated on all the different aspects of a business as a whole. So that's definitely something that you can, you know, really learn from the modules itself. And this brings me on to my fourth point, which is that all the professors in NOC, all the teachers in NOC, all the staff in NOC, and all the students in NOC, and even all the external course instructors in NOC are so dedicated to helping you to learn about the whole startup realm and also the business realm. So you get a whole new network of very passionate individuals. So one of the key reasons why I love, you know, startups in general is because I feel like the energy working there is so different. It's very elevated, and people are generally very creative and fun in a way, and also very experimental, which is something that I like. So if you join NOC, you get to, I would say, network or make friends with a lot of other people that are pretty keen to help you and also have a lot of similar interests with you. So that is definitely very comforting if you ever want to start your own company one day, that you have a network that you can rely on to motivate each other and to learn from each other. So another point that I want to add on also is that the network that you get is so helpful, because you'll be getting, you know, a lifetime access or a network to individuals who've really started their own companies before. And what I'm referring to right now is the NUS NOC Alumni. They're definitely very helpful, very talented, very smart, and, you know, very committed to contributing to society as a whole and perhaps giving back to NUS and NOC. So definitely you can really talk to so many incredible real-time founders that have really done all the dirty work and gone through so much hardship to start their own business. So I feel like if you are ever wanting to create your own venture, it's so helpful for you to have, you know, the contact or the support of people who've already done all the difficult things, so that you can ask them for advice or even mentorship. Another thing that I definitely think is very helpful is the whole branding of NOC is very strong. So if you're in the Singapore startup space, I would say that NOC is a program that has a very strong name. So this is something that I actually felt, that I observed, which is that when I went through the NOC program, I realized that a lot of companies are very happy to take on NOC students, either as an intern or even hire them in the future. So I would say that joining NOC is an incredible way for you to personally brand yourself as someone that's very passionate in the NOC space, and also because NOC does have a very stringent selection process of finding the people who are, you know, the most passionate about startups and also ideally have the skills to work in a startup. I think it's very easy for you to really leverage on your network to buff up your resume in case you ever want to work at a startup in Singapore. And in fact, I think the branding goes beyond the skills to run a startup. I feel like the branding also extends in the sense that You get to brand yourself as someone that is, you know, very passionate about life, I would say, and also has other co-curricular activities. So yeah, definitely an incredible boost to your resume if that is something that you want to work on as well. And something you'll soon find out if you go through the NOC program is that you can also add NOC on your LinkedIn, you can add it on your resume. You'll be able to join different groups on like Facebook or LinkedIn and things like that that will really keep the community going, and also have access to NOC related emails and also exclusive emails and exclusive events. So that's definitely a plus as well. So joining the NOC program is really a lifelong community and also gives you access to so many different resources in the long run. Another quick benefit of joining NOC as a student is that you get to clear enough modules and you don't even need to extend your graduation. So that's something that was really appealing to me, being able to intern while not actually extending my school term. So that's something that I would definitely recommend to anyone. And another thing is that at the end of your NOC experience, you have to write reports on your NOC journey, you have to write reports on, you know, like evaluating your internship process and the things that you learned from your company. And all these things actually allow you to clear up your final year your final year project, which is something that I would say would appeal to a lot of students. For me, honestly, this wasn't a big point because I was just so in love with the idea of NOC already. But if you're someone that's keen to use this as your FYP, definitely please go ahead. Okay, and the last point, which is something that isn't as relevant at all anymore right now, is overseas experience. Of course, because of COVID-19, we cannot go overseas anymore. But definitely in the future, hopefully the world opens up again, because you know, if NOC was an overseas program, you really get to live overseas independently. You get to learn so many different skills, and you also open yourself up to different cultures and different kinds of people and different types of entrepreneurs globally. So that's something that was so super exciting for me. So obviously I didn't get to experience that. Some of you may not get to experience that, but that's okay because the community is very strong. So in the future, let's imagine one day you want to open up a company in Israel or Canada or something. Perhaps you will know someone that will know someone that knows someone in that country to help you out. So I'm not saying it's guaranteed or anything, but definitely, even though this overseas experience part isn't there anymore, I would say that the other factors are still very strong reasons as to why you should still definitely join NOC if you are interested in startup. This is something quick I want to talk about because I was really confused when I joined NUS and I didn't really know how to get into NOC. So there's this thing called Friends of NOC. It's just a very simple Facebook group. Definitely go and join it because that's the place where they'll put all their events for anyone who's interested in joining NOC. And I've attended definitely some of the Friends of NOC events, and that's where you get to meet a lot of different people, different professors, different people in charge of NOC, different seniors who've gone through NOC, and you can really ask for a lot of tips and advice over there. So that's definitely something I want you guys to know and, you know, to just join. And when the application date comes out for NOC, that's when you can really just hop in and it'll be a very smooth journey from there. So now let's talk a little bit more about the NOC application process. So something you need to know is that NOC is definitely a very competitive program, so you want to try and stand out as much as possible because they get so many applicants every single time. So in your application, really try to focus on showing off all your, you know, your academic achievements, your co-curricular achievements, your leadership experiences, as well as your community service. But most importantly, you want to really highlight all the entrepreneurial experiences that you've had. And the reason why they're saying this is because it's so important for you to show your keen passion and interest and genuine, you know, fire for startups. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, they pretend to be interested in startups and then they get found out and they're not selected in the end. So I think some of the best ways to show that you're interested in entrepreneurship is to firstly, perhaps you can read up on entrepreneurship online. You can also take a few online courses on entrepreneurship, and I think something that's the most helpful is to have ideally experiences working at a startup. So for yourself, you may actually find internships in the NUS area. It's called iCube. Over there, there's so many NOC started startups and other startups that actually incubate their projects within iCube in NUS. So it's definitely something that, you know, you should definitely try and apply for if you want to get into NOC. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the people there like to hire, you know, students who are, you know, interested in startups or interested in NOC or NOC alumni. So that's definitely something that you can try to do, which is to really build up your resume with startup experiences to show your genuine passion for it. Another thing that you should definitely try to do is to have a lot of on-the-side ad hoc entrepreneurship experiences. Either when you're young, perhaps you're like selling cupcakes, or perhaps you're trying to rent out some stuff, or you're trying to, you know, code a new app, or you made a new website on your own. That's something that you can definitely add to your experience book. And if you've ever had your own startup, that's definitely something that will help you so much in the application process. So let's imagine that you've done all those things and you've already been shortlisted for an interview. Now I can talk to you guys about what to expect from the interview. So I'm not gonna lie, the interview is definitely something that is daunting for many people, and you want to get prepared for the interview because they do ask very tough questions. I'm gonna be telling you guys the questions that are more related to Singapore rather than overseas components, so definitely, you know, do stay tuned for that. Okay, so number one, the question that they may ask you is why you deserve to go to NOC above other students. Another question that they may ask you is what type of company you're looking at joining, and also what kind of industry are you looking at joining. Another question that they may ask you is, you know, can you explain to me all your strengths and weaknesses? And that's just something that they will ask to get to know you better. The fourth kind of question that they may ask you would be all about your entrepreneurship and work experiences. So ideally, here's where you can really flaunt all your startup, you know, experiences, and also some experiences you've had working at other companies. And the fifth thing they will definitely ask is, you know, your passion to go into the startup space into the future, because ultimately the school is looking for future entrepreneurs that can really make a shift or a change in the planet. So definitely, if you have any startup ideas, that's the perfect time for you to share all of them. So with that being said, I would say that the NOC program has multiple interviews. For me, I actually had to go through, I believe, 1 or 2 interviews to get into NOC. And after you get into NOC, you also still have to do a lot of interviews with the company. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So even if you get into a program and if you're not able to secure a job, it means that you won't actually be on the NOC program because you couldn't get a job. So be prepared for at least around 4 or 5 rounds of interviews. Because after your first 2 interviews with the school, there'll be about probably like 2 to 3 interviews to get you through to the final round of them selecting an intern to hire. You also want to note that there's also many other startups that you may want to interview with, since it's very competitive. For instance, there may be only 5 companies and there may be 10 student interns applying for the same country. So you definitely need to stand out in your skill set, and in general, just try your best to show off to the company why you're a great fit for their company, and also how your vision and your values may align with them. So I hope this doesn't scare you too much, but essentially be prepared for a lot of interviews, not just internally with the school, but also externally with the companies, and try your best to show your keen interest in those startups and ideally find the best that will ideally be the best fit for you. So since we're touching a little bit on the application process, I just want to share with you that there's basically 2 key intakes within a year, which is usually the January intake and the July intake. So something you need to know is that for the July intake, the application starts in January, while the application for the Jan intake starts in August. And that will basically kickstart your entire application process. And I'm going to be showing you a diagram that will make it very easy for you to understand, but essentially you want to make sure that you're applying on time. So definitely please join Friends of NOC, because over there they'll definitely be prompting you when it's time to apply. Okay, now I'll be talking a little bit about the NOC alumni that we have, and it's going to be very exciting, so let me just share with you. Okay, so some of the big companies whose co-founders or founders are from NOC are, you know, the companies like PetSnap, 99.co, Carousel, Shopback, Zopim, Bagosphere, Pigeon Lab, E27, Vidsi, Totally Hot Stuff, Polio, ProSpace, Dexecure, Xverse, Jublia, Vouch. And on and on and on. There are so many different incredible companies whose founders and their, you know, founding team came from NOC, so that's definitely something that's super exciting for you to know. And although sometimes it may feel very competitive and stressful, it's so inspiring to always remember that some of the biggest, you know, incredible Singapore founded startups came from NOC. So that's something that's actually very exciting. And I believe through NOC you get to hone a lot of different skills that may make you a perfect founder for your future company. So that's something exciting to know. Okay, now let me touch a little bit on some NOC events. So essentially there are a few things that, you know, you can do. So during NOC itself, a lot of students like to take part in other hackathons, case competitions together, especially if they're overseas, I guess, because they're in a group already. And over there you actually get to meet a lot of different people. Of course, now in the Singapore context, you can still join a lot of different case competitions and hackathons that will be great for your resume and also allow you to network even further, and also to get to know your batchmates even better. And I would say within NOC itself, you'll also get to meet a lot of other people through, you know, bonding events and things like that you can join to get to know your batch a lot better. And some events they have weekly. For instance, there's Wednesday weekly Wicked Wednesdays nights, which is where you get to basically go there and most of the time they invite external guest speakers to share with people about things. I remember I went to the one that was about Vietnam as a rising space for entrepreneurship, and it was just so incredibly inspiring for me, and it was just very, very interesting. And I would say that there are so many incredible speakers that NOC gets because of their very, very big name. And generally there are other events like Jamboree, but essentially they are events that allow all the NOC batches to come together and just chillax and get to know each other even better. So these events are very, very helpful because if you happen to chance upon a founder who you want to connect with, or a company that you really want to work at or something, you can definitely use this opportunity to kind of meet people and find out about what they do and ask them if they're hiring anyone. Maybe, I don't know if people do that, but that's something you can do. So yeah, I think NOC events are pretty straightforward, but yeah, that's definitely another perk of joining NOC. Basically, in-house just means that while you're in NOC or after NOC, you're able to stay on either Shears Hall or Cambridge Hall based on your allocation. And you basically get to go to work from there, or you get to have easier access to a lot of the NOC events from campus. So the main goal of N-House was essentially to allow you to bond and get to know your other N-House mates more easily because you guys are staying in the exact same building and the same area. So it's a lot easier for you to go out together, to have supper together, to eat together, chillax together, to to like just participate in things together, and ultimately to strengthen the entrepreneurship community. And the reason why it's at these halls is also because it's right opposite IQ, which is really where all the startups live, is where all the most of the NO-House events are at, and where most of the NOC events are held at, and also it's just on campus, I guess. So yeah, ultimately you just get to live with people who are like-minded and to strengthen your entrepreneurship fire, I would say. So now I'm going to be sharing with you as many things as possible that will get you a little bit hyped for NOC and also get you prepared for NOC. So I think one of the quickest things that I want to share is that within NOC is really a proper job, so you also want to make sure that you're representing your school properly, you're representing NOC properly, and you're representing your country properly in general. So definitely I would say if you're joining NOC, one of the most important things you want to get familiar with is really work etiquette, because you want to make sure that you are proper and representing yourself properly when you're interning at all these companies. And you want to know that your NOC company is also in close contact or direct contact with the school. So just definitely always be on your best behavior, always remember to do your best and to try and show up as your best self every single day, and to also make the most of your opportunity. Because the worst case that can happen is that you get fired from your company and then you are basically kicked out of N-House automatically. So I'm just sharing with you because there are instances when people get fired and then they get kicked out of NOC, so don't let that happen to you. There are also other instances where companies fold, so essentially they actually close down because it is a startup, it is a risky kind of venture, and if that happens, you have to quickly try and find another job. And again, if you cannot find another job within like a short span of time, they may kick you out of NOC. I believe this one they'll give you more support because it wasn't really your fault or anything. So if you can, just definitely be prepared to always be on the ball and be prepared to just always get ready for any kind of like interviews if needed. But yeah, I just want to share with you that there's some realities that people face. Okay, another thing that you want to note is that when you're on NOC, it can be very, very tiring because you are working full-time. And if you've ever done like a full-time internship before, you'll learn quickly that it's so tiring physically and mentally because you're working 5 times a week. So something that you need to know is that you don't want to let your studies suffer. So for instance, when you're doing your internship, it's so important for you to also know that after work you may need to dedicate some hours to your studies, or some hours to some group meetings and group projects, or even some consultations with your professor. So I do want to emphasize that NOC, as much as it sounds really fun and everything like that, it's really a pretty stressful program in the sense that you are balancing a lot of things. You're balancing your full-time job with your studies, and for some of us it may be okay, but for some of us we may struggle. So definitely do remember to stay healthy and stay on top of your game, in the sense that you need to do a lot of things at one point of time. And I actually wanted to add like another additional tip, which was that I think it's so important for you to get as much interview experience as possible. It doesn't have to be with like companies or anything, you can even ask your friends for advice. But essentially what I learned was that when I was in NOC, I actually was so culture shocked having interviews in Chinese with the China side, and it was just so difficult for me, but I was so thankful to get a job ultimately. Partially because the director was American, so I could actually speak English for some of the interviews. But I would say that learning how to interview in another language is a whole new ballgame. So, you know, that was actually very, very exciting and a great learning curve for me. I learned so much in that short span of time. And you know, when I actually interviewed with the Silicon Valley side, another thing that I quickly learned was that the market is completely different. So in Shanghai, a lot of the jobs that they were looking for were marketing related, which made it so much easier for me to actually get hired. But then when I actually tried to go to the Silicon Valley side, I was one of the last people to ever get a job because there were only 1 or 2 roles related to marketing, and it was just so competitive. Like, trust me, it's really difficult to get a marketing job in another country like Silicon Valley where tech, you know, is more preferred. So I would say that the market, the industry really matters, and sometimes, you know, it may feel very stressed out when you're doing all the interviews because there's a whole lot of pressure on you to get a job like ASAP. So I just wanted you to, you know that, for instance, in the Singapore market, if you're really good at engineering, I mean, that's great for you. There's so many like coding jobs or like engineering jobs that may appeal to you. You need to be prepared that you may not ultimately be part of NOC if there are no jobs available. So it's really nothing to do with you in the sense that you don't have to feel bad or anything, but sometimes you need to know that, you know, there are limited opportunities. So if you do get into NOC, it's so important for you to appreciate your opportunity. And yeah, I think my final tip is this: when you're on NOC, definitely make sure to make friends with as many people as possible, like not just in your company of course, but also in the program, because they are ultimately your batchmates, we're all friends, and it's really fun to just go through all these, you know, all these experiences together. But ultimately, I feel like, you know, you really use this NOC opportunity as a way for you to get comfortable with knowing new people, to get comfortable with pitching your idea if you have any, or to just get comfortable with networking, because this is an incredible skill that you can bring for life. So although it's really uncomfortable for some people, but really NOC is really the perfect house for you to get to know so many different people in many different professions with an energy for startups. Okay, so that being said, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you want to see a video related to my internship experience at my Y Combinator internship company, definitely do comment it down below because that may be coming out. But otherwise, I really hope that this video was as resourceful for you as much as possible, and I really hope that this video can help you to get into NOC. And now, if they ever ask you during your interview why you want to join NOC, I really hope that this video at least helped to give you some examples on, you know, the benefits of joining NOC. And I really hope that if you do get into NOC, just do let me know down in the comments below, because I would love to hear whether my video helped you. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching my video, and see you next time.
I got so much back, I think I'm never running out, yeah. Bust me down a whip, bitch, I don't do this for no clout, hey. I got so much back, I think I'm never